Hey guys, it's the Chad, your C10 truck nerd. Well, today is part 2 or day number 5 of the deconstruction or disassembly of Donna the Donor truck. In part 1, we went through and talked about the benefits of having a donor. I gave you a bunch of tips on how to stay organized and kind of where to start with disassembly. And the fun part, we started blowing her to pieces. Well, in part 2, we're going to go through and remove the bed, which I may have got a head start on already today, clear out the rest of the cab and get it ready to come off the frame. And then the fun part, where we're going to break out the saws or maybe a acetylene torch and start chopping up the frame. Should be a good time. Now that we have the dash out, you can kind of see why we're parting this one out. There's just so much rust. Now there are some good usable pieces left of this cab, and that's why we pulled the dash, and I'll show you some other things that we're gonna save. But there's just no way that I would want to put the time and labor in to try to save the cab itself. So that's gonna wrap up day number 6. I got about 4 solid hours in today, and we made a ton of progress. But it's well over 100 degrees. The kids want to sneak over to the neighbor's pool, and I can kind of use it as a bath myself. So we'll catch up with you guys tomorrow. So I don't claim to be a smart guy because I'm not. But if I have any advice for you guys, if you're gonna be parting one of these trucks out in the central part of Kansas, don't do it when it's 103 degrees outside. That way you don't have a heat stroke or hyperventilate. No, hallucinate. Well, I'm an idiot, so I'm just gonna keep on powering through, try to get these doors off and see how far I can get today. Yeah. Well, since this cab is so messed up and there's not a ton to save, I think what I'm gonna do is just lop off here at the A-pillars and then come up here at the roof and see if somebody can use that. Because I think what I wanna do with the back of the cab, I think I wanna save this here for some garage art. That may be pretty cool. So it's about time to make the old 69 a convertible. I mean, this, that should be safe, right? See what happens. That'll make 7 days down in the books, or about 17 total hours. And I've pretty much got this old C10 where I want her. You know, not completely parted out, but looking about as bad as she possibly can. You know, the neighbors in the city thought they had something to complain about before? Well, you're welcome. Now, some people say I'm passive aggressive, and I'm not completely sure what that means. I'm just a guy that likes to go out and ruffle some feathers when I think they need ruffling. So let's keep the hammer down, start day 8, and see how far we can get. Well, we've had our first fail today. Shouldn't do that. Dang it. Well, it's 1,700 hours later, but I've done it. So now we can move on to the frame and the rest of the suspension. So I'm going to be pulling all the emergency cable, brake, fuel lines. We're going to save on the transmission cross member and also the trailing arm cross member. Got to pull the rear diff, save the springs, and then we can move to the front control arms, save all that stuff, and once we get that done, start chopping up that frame. Well, that's gonna do it for day number 9, and we made big progress. I'd say we're about 95% done. Still got to pull the trailing arms off the cross member, clean a lot of things up, but truly, maybe a day and a half, we'll have this thing wrapped up. It's official, no more Donna the Donor truck. Unfortunately, she'll never see the road again, but hopefully a lot of her donated parts will. My goal was to go through and get her parted out within 30 days, that way the city couldn't come out and fine me. Well, that was no problem. I went through and got it done in about 10 working days, which came out to be just shy of 29 total labor hours. Now that did include me filming and having to set things up each day, so let's call it an even 27. Now I could have went a lot faster if I just pulled the torch and the saws out, hacked her to pieces and took her to the scrapper, but my goal was to keep as many of these used parts out there in circulation and try to make a few bucks in the process. Now I'd say the biggest downfall of parting Donna out was doing it in the middle of the summer, because 8 of the 10 days that I worked on it, it was well over 100 degrees and it just made it miserable. So if you guys are going to be parting one of these out, try to do it in the spring or the fall, unless you guys have a garage or a shop to do it in. Now the big question is, would I do this again? And the answer is absolutely. Why? Because this is a great way to go through and save yourself thousands of dollars on your build. 2, we're keeping a lot of these used parts out here in circulation, which is great for the dads and the kiddos and the guys like me that are on a tight budget. And number 3, a great way to learn how to put one of these trucks back together is to completely take one apart. Well, now I have a question for you guys. Is it just me, or are your neighbors in the city always after you too over your rust buckets sitting out in the driveway? Well, let me know down in the old clickety-clack, and while you're there, hit that like button and subscribe. Make sure you stick around for part 3 of my series. Next time we're going to talk about what parts you should be saving, scrapping, how to prep and price these things, and we'll even go through and see how much profit we made from Donna the Donor truck. I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.